Excuse me.
Welcome, 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 all of you. Good to see you today. I have a feeling, I have good intuition that we're going to have a wonderful session again today. We have our master coach, Vicki Koo, in Denmark, and she has been a pillar to our organization in many, many ways, has helped us out, has even helped us to prepare material. And so we are very indebted and grateful to Vicki and are waiting to listen and to hear from you, Vicki. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Oh, that makes me so proud, Gary. Thank you. um, you threw me off. Okay. No intuition at the moment. It's not home. I am going to share my screen with you, and hopefully we are going to have a great talk afterwards. I really, really hope that the words I am saying and showing you will trigger something that we can talk about afterwards. I'll be brief and then we'll have a nice talk as always. Intuition. How do you know if you have it? Do you know or don't you know? How does it feel? It can be a feeling, a sensation. It can be in a body part. It can be like butterflies in the stomach. It can be goosebumps. It can be a slight pain, tingling warmth. It can be a voice in your head that sounds different than your normal thinking voice, but it will still be your voice. Where is intuition? Intuition is actually from the brain and not the stomach. Intuition is really our ability to connect in the different layers of our conscious whole. It's intuition when we experience that there's just something we know. I just know. How do you know? I don't know. I just know. I know this is what I know. And I think that is actually a gift. What is your intuition? What is your strength? When we trust our intuition, we create confidence in ourselves. We can actually betray trust in others, and it could be trust to the world. It could be to our religion. It could be to our neighbor. It could be to our best friend. It could be to anything. But when we're talking about intuition, I'm always a bit crooked in the brain. What is the opposite of intuition? It's discursive. It's actually when everything comes out of something that we have a concept for, from concept to concept, from conclusion to conclusion, from opposite to intuitive. It is a funny word, intuition, but sometimes it can be a good idea to know what the opposite is as well. Can we actually develop our own intuition? If you don't let your ego come in the way. And my ego? What do you mean about that? What I mean is sometimes people say they have something intuitive coming out, but it's actually their own thoughts. Intuition is not something you think. Intuition is not you thinking, oh, I think she just came from the bakery. That's not intuition. That's something you saw, and then you created the words in your head. So intuition and thoughts are two different things. Can your intuition tell you what to do? Will it tell you what to do? No, it won't. Intuition always comes as a neutral communication, and it will never, 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 never tell you what to do. Rather, it would suggest, or it would make a question mark, or maybe it would feel like something you know you have to do, but you don't quite know why. I know this sounds a bit cryptic, but it's actually not. But it's a bit difficult to explain. But then again, I think it's a very interesting thing. How do I know if it's my intuition? Interesting question. You will know because sometimes it will trigger you. The brain is constantly comparing patterns. It's constantly comparing to anything you have stored in your hard drive, your brain. And sometimes that thought just comes like this. Then it's not a thought, then it's intuition. But we still call it a thought, and I don't know why. I couldn't find another word in English for it. What will trigger intuitive thinking? It could be like in my house the other night. All of a sudden, I was sitting watching television, and I thought, oh my, there's something wrong with the horse. And I called my daughter-in-law and I said, I think you need to go to the stable. There's something wrong with one of the horses. She said, you know, I just came home. I was there 20 minutes ago. I said, I know, but please go down and have a look. She came down. One of the horses was down with a colic. That was intuition. So sometimes we don't know what's going to trigger the thinking. What is sensing and intuitive? If you often seek after factual information, meaning that you are very into facts, you're into details, you're into everything that's written that you know is right. I don't know if I explained this correctly, but then I stand corrected if it's wrong. But that's what I call sensing. But if on the other hand, you try to link the information together and see the patterns and then a larger connection, then that is called being intuitive. Intuition uses two senses, between which, you know, partly, yeah, I don't know quite how to explain this without sounding very, very stupid, but let's go on and say, what is a gut feeling? A gut feeling is not intuitive, because a gut feeling is in your stomach, and intuitive thinking comes from the brain getting active. So I don't know how gut feeling came along. I'm offering wondering. A gut feeling. Did you get a lightning in your gut? Did your gut do a hiccups, or what did your gut do then that you can pinpoint your feelings to your gut? Maybe one of you know. I don't know what's right and I don't know what's wrong. But it would sure be interesting if we could crack the nut together. What if we wanted to develop our intuition? I know it's a stupid question, but do you ever go shopping? Yeah, maybe you do. And sometimes I think we must have tried that, all of us. We will go into a shop and instantly you think, this feels funny. You know, in that instant, you're not going to buy anything. You know, in that instant that what you really want to do is leave because you're not in harmony. You're in the energy. And when you're in the energy and the energy is not good, you're going to leave. That can also be a gut feeling. What is the problem with intuition? The problem with intuition is that we intuitively feel that we should know what it is. But we don't know what it is until it strikes us. Do you recognize any of these statements that's going to come now? Oh, I just knew I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have trusted this person, but I did. I knew there was something wrong with that. And I just knew there was something not right. That is intuition. I don't know what you call intuition, but this was my take on maybe starting a talk of what is intuition. That was it from me. Melanie?
I looked up intuition. What the couple things I want to say, but I looked up the definition because you were looking for another word, you know. And it says the ability to understand something immediately without the need of conscious reasoning. We should allow our intuition to guide us. A thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive. That's the thing that I was thinking. It's your instincts. A thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning. Your insights and intuitions are a native speaker. As a native speaker, are positively sought. Anyway, I wanted to, and they're saying now, right? I'm thinking about, you know, why they say your gut, and you're saying it's from your brain, but aren't they recently they're saying our gut is our second brain.
Melanie got it.
And now they're even saying it might be our first brain.
Yeah.
Like but you know, and I wanted to say one more thing is that I've had this experience. I think I shared it before in the Tower of London, you know, when I was very young, my first trip to England. And I grabbed my boyfriend's hand and I said, we've got to get out of here right now, you know, fast, like something bad's going to happen. And that was not, I know that was different. That was not my gut. That was like an angel or something telling me to get out of there. You know what I mean? Because I had no gut feeling. That was more like a demand. Like you said, it's not a command. And that was different from my intuition. The end.
Thank you for that, Melanie. And
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Vicki. Beautiful. This, make me thinking, got me thinking. Is intuition like an idea that pops up, like you wake up in the morning and something out of the blue, just pops up in your mind, like, oh, is that intuition? Or I'm just asking.
I think that is a very valid question, and I think it's very interesting, because have you ever tried when you go to bed and you have something you need a solution for, something, asking for the solution and then go to bed and sleep, and then when you wake up in the morning, the solution is there. Where did it come from?
They say that's more like being an alpha. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's still a lot. It's still a very interesting talk, Melanie, because it can be alpha, it can be beta, it can be whatever you want it to be, but the thought is still coming. And why would I, in the middle of a television show, be thinking, I need to call Leah and tell her to go to the horses? And I have that a lot. I've actually been so troubled at a point that I could just by shaking hands with someone, I got a lot of information I didn't want. So and one of the first things, and now you're gonna think I'm really bonkers, but I was at a show and I greeted a man, and I was told he had a foot wart. I was at a show, and how do you come into talking to a man about his wart on his foot without seeming totally crazy?
I
And I
think
thought,
it's psychic ability.
what do you want? What do you want me to tell him? So there's a lot of different things going on, but intuition, I think, is when something immediately is going to happen within a close vicinity of something. And I don't know if I'm right. This is just what I think. Like with the horses, or if Melanie had a thought staying in the Tower of England that she had to get out, or people going on a plane and turning around at the door and saying, no, I'm not going to go on board, and then something happens. I don't know. I'm putting it out here. Let's talk about it. I don't have the answers.
Yeah, Dr. Gary.
Well, I have a few things that I might, add to the conversation. One is we're talking about definitions, and nobody really can capture intuition in a definition, I don't think, because it's not it's not a logical thing. It's not a language-based thing. It's kind of a feeling-based thing that you have. The subconscious mind is millions of times more powerful in processing than the conscious mind that makes the decision and reasons and has judgment and etc. So no, there is one thing, but then there's another thing that I think that there is communication that may be in a sense spiritual, that we receive and that can also be considered intuition. I wouldn't call it all the same thing. I don't know, maybe inspiration or revelation or something of those mind. I guess you call it psychic ability or a gift of knowing these things. I haven't really understood it. There isn't physics behind it because what kind of thing enables a spiritual communication. I know that it works because I believe in prayer, And I believe that we have a kind, loving Heavenly Father that we can go to if we need to. And I've felt his presence. I don't know how. I can't say, well, this electromagnetic frequency or this thing, or there's a way to detect it or what. I don't know how, but I know that it's there. So I think there's several definitions. I wanted to kind of clarify, though, and I do so in my CHC course. The connection between the brain and the body is extremely complex. So, if we try to just isolate things to what hell is happening in our brain rather than just happening in the rest of our body, we're actually a little inaccurate, because our brain is connected to every single thing that's happening in our body, even maybe on the DNA levels, on the hormonal levels for sure. And the gut is very, very, very highly connected to the brain because it produces serotonin, and it also has, believe it or not, neuronal material there in the gut above the kidneys and the adrenal glands and such. That's actually brain matter. And that gives us that also gives us kind of a gut feeling or part of the body. So I don't know if you can actually say where the brain begins and the mind, where the mind begins and the body ends. I don't know if there is such a thing, because it's all so intricately connected. So I call it the mind rather than the brain, which is an inclusion of all of the connections we have all throughout our body, and it includes all of us. So that's the way I kind of overcome that distinction, separation, But as far as intuition goes, I think there's several words that we may even define if we were really to look into it deeply. We could define words that maybe even don't exist in the language to describe the various levels of intuition and feelings that we have along those levels. And anyway, I go on and on. I was kind of like you, I don't know the answer to these things. It's sort of like I see a tree. How do I describe a tree? Well, I really can't describe it in terms of like, well, a tree has a trunk and that's just so large, I can't describe all of the characteristics of a tree, but when I see a tree, I know it's a tree. It's so maybe that's something that is just intuitive. It just because it is. It's programmed in. I don't know. So anyway, there's my 5 cents worth. I gave a couple of pennies worth there.
And now we're finding out so much more about trees. Even like
Yeah, no, but
connective
it
underground.
is very interesting, because I have been also thinking a little bit about telepathy. And Trine-Lise was actually asking the mind and the ego. The reason why I brought it up, I might have phrased it wrong, but what I meant was that sometimes people claim intuition when it's their thinking. And that's what I wanted to just point out, that's two different things. It's also funny, because if you go somewhere to a person that's supposed to have intuition, that could read your future or whatever it might be, then rest assured that you are going to have a certain portion of their opinion as well in the reading. And as long as you cannot stay neutral, you cannot be a tool to guide anyone. If you are opinionated, or if you go with your brain what you want them to do. Brent.
That's a really important point you're bringing up right there, is emotions that can get in and block the intuition. Appetites, emotions, and passions interfere with the intuition. Gary, I loved what Gary had to say about everything, and it's the words that don't quite. Some of them can be used interchangeably, and it's our definition for words, but it's the feelings we're trying to get at. And see, women, they're a lot more intuitive than men because their ego doesn't get involved like men's do. You know, their emotions, appetites, and pride can get involved and mess stuff up. But men are not as humble or intuitive because of the ego. But see, the world, and it has to do it, and the reason that it is physics, but we just don't have the ability to test for it yet. It's all about light, and all of the information, the knowledge rides the light, all the different frequencies of light. And that's even where the telepathy can be involved. You get on that same frequency in light, and other people will feel your thoughts. But the scientific world calls it infinite intelligence. The Eastern religions call it enlightenment. The Christian world calls it the Holy Ghost. They're all trying to define this light that fills the universe. And in the scriptures, it talks about, every person that's been born into this world has been given the light of Christ, and which is, people call it your conscience. But it's really that little feeling in there that you're talking about, Vicki, that impression. And a lot of times, most of the time, I get my same enlightenment in the morning. If I go to bed thinking about something, or something's been on my mind, usually when I'm half awake and half asleep in the morning is when the answers come to whatever I've been, thinking about, because you got that conscious shut off mostly, and the subconscious is talking, and that's where we tap into that light. It's through our subconscious mind. It has the power to control our bodies and our surroundings and stuff, but it also has the power to tap into frequencies of light if we're not all wrapped up in our appetites, emotions, and passions. That's why we need to be at peace. Meditation is so important. And then we can get the answers. Ask and ye shall receive on anything that our Heavenly Father wants us to understand and know, we can get if we just ask and we get at peace and pray and ponder on it. We can get that, but we got to be ready for it. So like with our little children that are 5 years old and they want me to teach them to drive the car, they're not ready to learn to drive the car. Now, when they're 16 and proven themselves trustworthy, sure, then I'll teach them to drive the car. But the thing is most everything we can get, and we can progress to where we're 16 and can drive the car. But we got to work with it, and we can get stronger at it. And if you focus on it, like you brought out, Vicki, we can make that more powerful. We can tune into any frequency of light information we want.
I like that.
Thank you for that, Brent. That was really powerful. Thank you for that. Melanie first, and then Sally.
Because just before Brent was talking, and then he kind of hit on the same thing, but deeper. Thank you, Brent. That was brilliant and accurate, I think. Is that, and working with this ancient Chinese method, like he said, they call it different things all over the world, but like this crouching tiger, hidden dragon, you see this thing where people are throwing light and raising in the air, and is this ancient Chinese thing is an exercise, and it's like these positions too, when you raise up and you're pulling in the light, your energies, there's all these different energies, but I think it can all be broken down like Brent is saying, but it's interesting that that's another you know, this practice where to bring in things to help create things, to make it, you know, connect with things, make you smarter. This is just another way to do that. And there's exercises, but it really is all about the energy, which I see as light too.
That is the practice of Qigong they talk about.
Yeah.
And you can visualize yourself extracting the light from the earth and suck it into your body, and your body just glows, or suck it in it out from the sky and the universe into your body, and you can feel it into your body. It's just like a sponge. And it's just a practice, a mental thing that you visualize in that. You know, they spend hours, you know, going through exercises and stuff like that. You can do it much faster. Just
Well,
thinking
right.
about it.
Right, but the Qigong is something that actually came from this much more ancient practice. And yes. And I was just going to say too earlier, Vicki, that, you know, like the thing you said with the horse or something, you know, like I feel when someone really close to me has passed, you know, I've had experiences like that, like right then. And I will often go and think and just think, I need to turn on the TV right now. There's something I need to hear right now, and something always, it's like something is happening right then, you know, that I needed to know about or wanted to know about. Okay, I pass.
Thank you, Melanie. Sally?
Yeah, I remember reading, this is years ago, and it was, well, I have the year, I looked it up, it was way back in 1992. And because personally, well, in the last, I guess 2011, well, you know, we lost everything, my home and so much. And so I never expected to get another home where, you know, and it just happened that one after had one, and then it was just like I feel like, you know, it's our Heavenly Father that looked after me and my family. And I used to have dreams. So that's another thing. It's kind of like, but I never thought about what the dreams, they were just like strange, like funny. It was always this dream that on one side was a hill, on the other side was a creek. And I'd always go as far as, you know, the end, and then the dream was over. Another time I went right to the last dream I had before we got this property was where I went all the way to the end, and then I turned right and there was people there fishing, and I'm nervous about any people more than animals, you know, because we don't know, you know, it's in the middle of nowhere. So my husband, he went on Kijiji. I don't know if you know Kijiji. It's like local finding places, and we were going to put our trailer somewhere, you know, because he knew I loved Norway Bay where I'm living, and he wanted to put the trailer, you know, get a property at a trailer park. And then he came across this ad that said large property, and it was unbelievably cheap, and they never mentioned a house on it. So we went and looked at it, and there was a little house. So he said, just wait 3 days and we'll just leave it in prayer. So we did, and 3 days later they dropped down $8,000. It was 38,000 at first, and this is a huge property where people's properties sell like over $1 million, some of them. So, and plus it was right beside a golf course. It was at the end of everything. And where I live, I can show you, on one side is a hill over there, all along there. It's like a long hill from one end of Norway Bay to the other. And there's the creek is on the other side. It's not the creek, the river. So it was always a creek in my, so I really believe that, you know, it's, some might say it's intuition. I really believe it's God, and it brings out two experiences of Albert Einstein is one, and another one was someone, could I just read the paragraph of the first one?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
We were nodding, not daring to speak.
Okay. Okay. It says, one evening in 1893, a clerk for a coal company in Detroit, Michigan, USA, saw a weird contraption made of spare parts and bicycle wheels clattering noisily down the street. Suddenly he had a hunch, a flash of intuition. he somehow just knew that here was an invention for a future. Promptly, he withdrew his life savings of $1,000 and bought into the inventor's company, ignoring the sneers of experts who insisted that this odd device would never be very popular. About 30 years later, he sold his shares in Henry Ford's automobile company for $35 million. To say the least, his intuition paid off. And then I talked about Albert Einstein. His intuition was crucial to the discovery of natural laws. And then but then he had another intuition that ended up, it didn't pan out. So sometimes, we just have to be really selective. Is it intuition? Is it, from God? Is it? So it's it's got quite a long article about that. It was interesting anyways. Just want to share my little bit there.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sally. I think that was wonderful. But you know what? I really believe if we call it divine, if we call it intuition, if we call it getting struck by a brain lightning or whatever we want to call it, I think it's still the same.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the only one that I could see two reacting when I claimed that there was nothing called the gut feeling. I was actually trying to challenge you, because the funny thing about the mind and the gut is that sometimes when you have these intuitive feelings, you can feel a tingling in your gut. There's also people who can constipate if something, they can't just, thoughts are flying and they can't sort the thoughts, and things are not going the right way. And then the opposite, if things goes too fast or whatever it is. But yes, definitely, you can never talk about a mind without mentioning the God as well. I thought you were going to holler when I said it, but no one said anything. So I thought, I got them. Until Melanie was very quick at the beginning. Oh, yeah. Good for you. Anyone? Sarah, you have something? Yeah, Sister Ginger?
Yes, hi. I'm glad to be on this wellness talks. I agree with all that's been said. I have a strong feeling that our Creator cares about every one of us, and there are times in our lives when we need a little extra thoughts and intelligence, and that the thoughts are guided to us when we need them, or to bless other people, or to do something that is a good thing to do, or to do something to prevent an accident or something. That it all comes, it comes from our Creator, and it comes in different ways. As we have different fingerprints, sometimes there's different ways that it comes to people. And that's one thing that I think is for the blessing of each one of us, because I've received intuitions, and for some reason it was to help somebody, or it was to get something done, or just to do something. And so that's what I think.
Thank you for sharing that. Sarah?
Yeah, so I want to share that something I kind of learned. I don't know how, but when you have a self-doubt, there's an intuition, but there's some kind of resistance from you also. When that happens, I will ask, is this coming from love? Is this a love base, or is this coming from maybe fear? Am I feeling kind person in me, or am I feeding wolf inside of me? And also, is this congruent with my belief? And is this congruent with the fact that I'm a child of God? Am I edifying God? And also, I ask, am I projecting my wishful thinking here, or is there any attachment, which means I will be in the way, but I should really feel that I'm just there as a vessel, but God should just flow through me. So that's kind of things that I ask, and also when the intuition comes, there's an action kind of follows. So if I is there any discomfort in that action, or do I have a peace with that? But it goes back to, is everything in love base? So that's kind of things that I asked myself. So I just wanted to share. I don't know if that helped.
And Sarah, I think the reason why you are even talking about this is because this is important for you, because you are a coach from your heart. And I think the problem or the challenge can be if you run into someone who is not from the heart, but from somewhere else, where they maybe want to control you or they want to steer you into a certain direction. That's where all the little hairs in the neck is supposed to stand.
Yep. And
Because-
Sarah, I was always talking from the heart. You know, we can always trust her talking from the heart. And that comment before was awesome about getting inspiration to be of service to somebody else, because when we are in the service of someone else, we're only in the service of our God. And most of the time, God answers our prayers through somebody else. It allows us to be angels in people's lives if we will listen to that inspiration, that little still small voice that guides us to be of service to others, and not only ourselves.
Sally? You're muted, Sally.
Sorry. Yeah, it can be a protection because one thing I want to mention, well, two things. My personal, I feel it had to be from God too. I'll just mention the other one first because it was a girl in St. Catharines where it's known there was a killer, not at the time, but she was invited by someone she worked at a vet's, and she asked her out for lunch. And not long after, they found out she was a killer along with her husband of many young girls. So she had this feeling not to go. Actually a scripture came in her mind about bad associations cause useful habits. So that's why she didn't go. And so it ended up safe. It protected her. And for me, when COVID broke out, my friend called me, and it was pretty around 10 at night. We were watching TV. She was at a race game and with car racing with her husband. So I guess she got bored and she called me up and told me about ASEA, about this company she found out. And thank goodness, I had this feeling, and I was in other MLMs, but this was something different. I just had this strong feeling I had to get into it, but I did just start with the gel, then the water, then I got into being associate, and just in time because that was November, December, January was when COVID broke out in our area. Both neighbors were deathly sick. I didn't know what was wrong with them. And that was, I didn't get sick, and I have no immune system because I don't have my appendix and tonsils, so I get everything going. But I was taking enough ASEA to counteract any virus that would come in. Plus I burnt my nose so off, like it's plastic. So I would get everything going. But it's amazing that, God had to have brought this company into my life with these beautiful people that are, many become religious because they see God had brought them in as well. Some have been maybe atheists, and then they say that, well, God does really care. So it just amazes me. And I've fought different viruses since then. Shingles, really bad, and I don't get cold sores anymore. Like, it's just amazing how God's brought us into, many of these ones into this company, and even making enough money to cover my products and more. So it's really good.
Thank you very much, Sally. Judy?
Yeah. Anne mentioned in a chat that we're all connected, and I totally agree. And somebody else mentioned something that made me start thinking about something I'll never forget in my life. But one year, my husband said, "Let's go on vacation." And I know somebody who has an island up in Canada. And we liked the outdoors and camping and everything. It doesn't have any electricity. It doesn't have had running water. It didn't have electricity or anything like that. So we knew that we were going to be kind of roughing it a little bit. So anyway, we went up to this island and we had to take a boat out to it. Couldn't get there any other way unless, well, maybe we swam, but it was pretty for a piece out in the water. And about the second night we were there, I'd say, all of a sudden I woke up and I thought, what woke me? And I looked at my watch, at least I had my watch so I could tell what time it was. And it was something like 2:20 in the morning. And I thought, did I hear something? I don't recall hearing anything. So anyway, long story short, when we got home, and one thing I didn't mention was that my grandmother was ill, quite ill when we left. I found out that she had passed while we were gone at 2:20 in the morning. So I still get chills when I think about it. But yes, that probably has nothing to do with intuition, but who knows what in the world. Everything is connected. Everything has energy. Everything has frequency, whatever. But we are all connected, and yes. And maybe it's God and his angels that connect us, but I'll take it.
You must have had a very special connection, Judy.
Well, certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
She was my grandmother, and on my father's side. And although we never did get terribly close, because my grandmother and my aunt always had a feud over who's going to take care of me or who's going to give me the next nice present or something like that. But she lived too far away that I didn't even see her all that often. But I did go to the hospital where she was, and I gave her a kiss and a hug because I knew that she was not well, and that we were going to go on this vacation. So there you are.
No, but I think we are, even though we are maybe not seeing each other a lot, I haven't met a lot of you, and I've known you for years. So it's kind of funny. It's like we know each other from here and up, and that's kind of fine. Why not? But I think that also what we can say is that if there is that special connection, then they will pass by us on the way to let us know that they've taken off. And I think that is a wonderful thing.
Oh, you bet.
But sometimes people are not ready to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So they will not hear that. And that is why I think the talk about intuition is very, very interesting, because I think intuition is a lot of things amongst all. Lila?
Well, first I couldn't find that where to click on for the hand. Well, first I thought what Brett said. I have let's say family pattern. My grandma, she didn't want to go up in the morning very early, and as a uncle, and so I was quite good at working nights. So, but now I have accepted that I don't have this pressure to get up early in the morning and meditate at 5 o'clock. So, but I have practiced that I understand between sleeping and being awake. It's a gap. So I just observe, I'm aware. So I'm learning. And also I set some, let's say, goals or some things in the night before. So I'm practicing in this. So I don't have so many people to talk to about this, but I think I want to simplify things. And I'm thinking all this with physics. I mean, the book One Mind by Larry Dossey, I bought it quite a long time ago. And I connect some pieces of puzzle. So I can feel that people don't distract me too much. So I can be on a kind of my path, my track to know more about myself. And I like this with intuition. I've been reading what old philosophers thought and all that. So I would like to really have that more in the body so that I can not be afraid. I should act, not when I should go out of my comfort zone and create something which I cannot grasp, but to believe what I see. So to have faith is very interesting. So actually, I'm not sure I mentioned Carolyn Myss last session, but I have a lot of books, and I happened to see her on YouTube. And there she said recently that she's not good at meditating, but she thinks that prayer is an underestimated power. And that really, well, because as a former GP, we didn't have those talks and guidings, but I think, well, we could talk a long time about we say school medicine, but I just like you say that what I can practice at home and learn and repeat and do daily things, that's my way of looking at things now. So I'm grateful for this community, and also the Danish. or with Danish is so it makes me happy. It's old feeling. Yeah, well, I've been there. You had a hospital close to this art museum, Luciana. They had a biological hospital. I went to see all those places, and there was a.
But I'm sorry, Lila, I think that's another talk because we only have a few minutes left.
Well, it's true. I'm like, when I get excited, I can. We'll see where I will go. Thank you. You have to shout so I can.
Yeah. Thank you, Lila.
Well, thank you.
So maybe we can conclude that if we can listen with our heart, not be opinionated, then maybe it's a good idea that we try and be there for other people if we can. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes in helping another person is that you are not actually helping. Some people are ordering because they expect you to follow whatever they tell you. And that maybe was not mentioned on the road, saying, what do you want to inspire me, or do you want me to do this? And I think that if we are using our intuition in connection to other people, we have to have the ability to put ourselves in the background because we are not important, they are important. And I think that is one of the main reasons why I have fallen so much in love with this program at Cellular Health Coaching, because I find that we have a very, very good community led by a fantastic man. And I think that I used my intuition initially because I had an aneurysm, and a friend called Susanna called me and said, you know, Gary Samuelson is doing this. I said, I have to join. And that was like this. So I think I'm here because of my intuition. It could also be divine intervention. It could be an angel. It could be my heart. It could be my ears. It could be, you know what? I'm just grateful to be here for whatever reason. So with that, we will let Dr. Gary round up today.
Thank you. I have a feeling that we are together too in this group as a I feel so grateful, maybe I should say, that I found you, all of you, you know, all of you new, a little bit newer than and older, but I have a feeling that this is a wonderful group. Probably more than just intuition. But anyway, I don't know. I've been debating myself whether I should share maybe something a little bit private with you, if that's okay, you know, to end this off. When I was a young boy, I was wondering whether God exists, whether there actually is, as a physical being, you know, a God. I would say you'd have to be independent and aside from all philosophies and such. And so I was a really wiry little guy. My poor mom had to answer millions of questions every day. You know, there was a time when I thought that she had all the answers. But the but then you know, I started practicing being of one mind, which was mentioned here, is wonderful. But it takes a little bit of practice. You know, it takes your ability to open up to other people and your ability to communicate. And even this idea of intuition, you know, it was interesting that Vicki should say, well, can we learn? Can we develop this sense? And I think, well, I think we can. There's one thing that I'm absolutely sure that you can develop, and that is, you know, a relationship with God. And this is from my own experience. I'm not trying to preach to you guys. But when I realized that it from, you know, from him received a very strong answer that a kind, loving Heavenly Father does exist, and he answered many of my questions one evening. And I was just blown away. I said, my goodness, I can ask him anything. And he's the creator of the universe, and I can ask him anything. So I started to now I was, of course, asking him everything. And he was very patient with me. Now, when I was going on into science and I wanted to know more and more about how this world works, how our bodies work, how everything works, you know, this was the driving factor in my life. And and I thought one day, hey, you know, why am I just breaking my butt trying to learn all of this stuff when he already knows it? Maybe he could just tell me. You know? And then I would be, you know, then I would have the answers to all of these questions that I had. And so I did. I asked him one evening, I said, you know, look, I have this question about, it was a theoretical quantum physics or something, you know. I have a question about this. And but I did receive a distinct answer at that time, and I just wanted to share this with you. And that was these truths, though they be true, are not yet ready to be revealed to the world. And I said, well, why not? He says, well, people, if they have evil intent, will use these truths for evil. And then if people who have different intentions will use these truths as powerful things, such as the truth of the energy inside a nucleus of an atom. It was used for nuclear energy. It was also used for nuclear devices that can blow up every city in a blink of an eye. And so this realization came to me that maybe the most important principles that we can learn are those of loving one another, serving one another, loving, our Creator, loving our existence, loving ourselves. And those sort of things are important, because if we're well-founded, if we have practice in doing these things, then when we receive truths, we will use it for the betterment of all of us. I hope that makes sense to you. It certainly made sense to me, but I said, oh, drat. That means we're just going to have to work through these things, and maybe not get all the answers all at once. So anyway, thank you for being here. It's so good to see you. I hope there will be one day where I can physically, hug you and offer my gratitude. That goes to you, Vicki. I'm looking forward to the day where I can meet you, and maybe there will be some time in this lifetime. Anyway, thank you all, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Remember that we will be back here next Thursday, and we'll have another community discussion. Please invite people to these discussions. Invite the people that you feel should be here. And don't be afraid. We do need to grow our community, and we do in number and in quality.
6 to 7 tonight.
All right. Thank you. Is that it? Yeah, Judy.
And there you all have it. How ASEA was discovered. Gary just taught you the secret.
Yeah, but be careful what you ask for. There's another secret here.
All right.
All right. Very well. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Gary.
God bless
Alrighty.
you. Thank
Take
you
care.
for sharing that.
Mhm.
Righto.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice week.